All right, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the morning briefing from the Celtic Way. Tuesday morning with Hamish and John. Hello, John.
Hi Hamish, how's it going?
Yes, it's good. We're looking forward to tonight's game against Aberdeen. A chance for one of our six in a row victories we need for four in a row, John. So, an exciting evening ahead at Celtic Park. We're approaching the end of the ultra marathon as
Mm.
well, and we're in good shape. So we best make the most of these midweek fixtures because we've only got, I think, two more for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's right. The games have been so thick and fast for the last 2 months, but I think the
Do you know
players
how
and
many games we've had in how many days? Because I worked it out earlier. We've had
it, I don't know off the top of my head, but if you've got it there,
can't find it now. I think it's 90. It's 94 days. I think, and I'm pretty sure it was 26 games in 94
right,
days, which is
there
mad.
you go. I mean that's just it's a really heavy schedule with games across all competitions, all types of opponents, all types of venues, all types of countries even. So it has been an ultra marathon as he said, and I think the players and the manager will they've got this a little bit more to give, and then they've got these big gaps between matches, and that'll be really good for them going into this closing period of the season because it's such an important period, and we don't want any of the momentum to kind of dissipate, especially in the wake of what happened at the weekend. But tonight's a chance for the team to show look they're going to get right back on track. They're going to continue this good feeling around Celtic at the moment. Everyone's in a good mood for various reasons, not just Celtic related. It's one of those weeks in Scottish football where there's a lot of chatter, a lot of humour, a lot of joy going about the Celtic support, shall we suggest, Hamish? And I think the team and the manager will be looking to thrive on that this evening.
Yeah, I think there'll be a buzz about the place this evening, and hoping it'll be a pretty good crowd at Celtic Park as well. Given that, I mean, I think away from the obvious derby games, Aberdeen's the next biggest fixture. I know some people would maybe say Hearts, but I think in terms of at Celtic Park, I always look forward to the Aberdeen games. And start of the season, it was tough for us. They're still the only team to have scored in the league at Celtic Park, so I'm sure that'll be on the players' mind tonight. I think Tony writes something about that as well, and he was mentioning that Brendan Rodgers is often on top of these things.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting tonight. We'll circle back to this game just briefly. Reports now, this is kind of the worst kept secret, I think. No official confirmation from Celtic on this, but it does seem very much like Celtic will take on Cork City in Ireland in a pre-season friendly ahead of next season, Tuesday, July the 8th. So it'll be a nighttime kickoff, obviously, there. And the game, and I'm not even going to try and attempt the the pronunciation of the ground, but I know it's Cork's GAA ground where we're going to play the game. 45,000 arena, which includes terraces, and they're expecting it to be a sellout with obviously the buzz for Celtic in Ireland. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a major occasion in Ireland. Celtic have obviously made trips there in recent history, but it's always good I think for Celtic to go to Ireland and kind of connect with the support over there, which is numerous, and yeah, it'll be good for Adamida as well. And it's just
From Cork.
yeah, from Cork, of course. So that'll be kind of a homecoming game for him. Yeah, that's going to be a good one for the sport. It's good to see like the plans are already in place for what's happening in the summer. It could be a big summer, as we know, with qualifiers, etc. So it'll be important that Celtic choose the right schedule for the team, for Brendan Rodgers, just around those qualifiers, but also building up to pretty important matches in quick order.
Yeah, Parky Kiev, according to Charlie. So thanks for that. Yeah, nice to be playing a big game in Ireland against League of Ireland opposition as well. I mean, you know, reading between the lines or not reading between the lines, but reading a lot about Irish football, it seems like it's really growing. And I think they had a pretty mega crowd for a game at the Aviva recently. So Celtic going there and playing an Irish team, I think, is really good. And away from Dublin as well. I mean, I love Dublin. I think Celtic fans love their trips to Dublin, but I think going elsewhere in the country's important. So that's good. Is there anything else about pre-season emerged yet? Any ideas? Will we go on any? Oh, I suppose we've got qualifiers, don't we? That might put
Yeah.
off any big trips.
I mean, I think the good thing about the qualifiers is I think that it's not going to be the crazy early schedule of qualifiers, is it?
Yeah.
You know, if it, you know, it's one tie, so it'll be towards the end of the summer. So I think Celtic will have a pretty good ramp up to that, you know, regardless of how it shakes out. So I don't think Rodgers will be wanting any big massive trips, you know, in too far flung a place. I don't think it'll be back to America or over to Japan, for example, Australia.
Or
I think it'll
Australia. Australia. What about come
no.
come to Australia?
I think it'll be. I've just got a feeling it'll be Europe based this summer. You know, that's just how I see it. But we'll see how that all works out.
Okay, we'll park that for now. We can chat about pre-season when it arrives. Yeah, what else is going on? We had press conferences yesterday ahead of tonight's game. Brendan Rodgers, Alistair Johnston. Brendan Rodgers was asked about a number of things. You can probably imagine what those things were, everyone. I thought he was in pretty good form yesterday, pretty relaxed and calmed down a little bit from full time on Saturday.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, you know, Saturday I think is in his head is just like done, shut off, move on, the kind of thing. I do enjoy Rodgers around these moments, you know, this kind of like disappointed for Clement and all that kind of thing. He's with a wee glint in his eye. I'm not saying he's not been sincere, but Brendan Rodgers seems to survive Rangers manager after Rangers manager. This is nothing new for him, so he'll be looking at this next block or these people coming in. It seems to be the sports scene and sports sound panel coming in to manage Rangers for the closing stage of the season, and that's not going to phase Brendan Rodgers in the slightest, is it? You know, Rodgers is going to relish this opportunity, I think, to go for this treble. Well, seal the league title first and foremost, go for the treble, and then do his talking on the pitch. You know, as Brendan Rodgers said, you know, he's not one to prolong what happened on Saturday in terms of like complaints to the SFA. You know, he wants Celtic to follow procedures. He wants Celtic to do their talking on the pitch. You know, and that, I think that's what we'll hopefully see this evening against Aberdeen. I know a lot of people are saying, you know, they'll take a 1-0 tonight, etc., after, you know, what happened on Saturday. I think Rodgers will want to show Celtic are in fine fettle for the closing stages of the season tonight. And that's what I mean with this kind of statement thing. I think they'll want to put on a wee show for the Celtic support tonight. That's what I see anyway.
Yeah, I get the same impression. I think back at Celtic Park after such a good performance in Munich, I think the players will have been quite disappointed with how Saturday went. And also, yeah, you know, they're saying they've moved on, but that decision late in the game on Saturday will definitely be on their minds, and there'll be a sense of injustice. It's, as I say, it's, you know, last Tuesday, Munich was a really good performance, but if you actually look at the past couple of games and the way the results have gone and the way the results could have gone, it's been a very frustrating couple of matches. You know, the heartache in Munich and then the disbelief, I think, on Sunday at the end of that game. So, yeah, I think the players will be feeling a bit of frustration, if I'm honest. Partly at themselves, probably for the first half on Saturday, and I really hope they're back and ready to do it tonight. It's a game that I don't think you really need to get up for. No. You know, Aberdeen are third best in the country at the moment. It's a night game at Celtic Park. We've been so good at Celtic Park, like really confidently winning virtually every game. I think I could be wrong here, but I think Aberdeen, they're certainly the only team to stop us winning in the league at Celtic Park. I don't know if a team's even got within a goal of us in any other home league games. I think every other one's been by at least 2 goals. I could be wrong there. It might have happened recently, but certainly up until that point, you know, it's been like 3-0, 4-0 virtually the whole season, including in the derby. So, yeah, I feel good about tonight. I think everyone's going to go along. Should be a good atmosphere. It's live on Sky as well tonight, so it just has that kind of extra bit about it.
Yeah, no, and I think we've spoken about this before, and you kind of referenced it there. But Rodgers is good at sensing the moment, sensing what Celtic fans are looking for from their team, and just with everything going on around Scottish football, Celtic over the last week, there's been so many stories in Scottish football. There's been talks of takeovers and new managers leaving, new managers coming in, and it's just been a kind of a free-for-all frenzy. Celtic just want to quietly go about their business in response, I think, and I think that's what we'll see from the team tonight. Just and sheer focus. You know, we are still the team to beat in Scotland. You know, and I think it's I think we'll see that over the coming months. Obviously, we're going for this treble, and I think Celtic just reasserting that authority is going to be a really good thing. And you know that Brendan Rodgers wants people talking about his team and how strong his team are, and how his team are ticking off the boxes on the way to more silverware. Regardless of any chaos or optimism or whatever they're feeling across the city. Brendan Rodgers is all about Celtic and wants it to be all about Celtic, and hopefully that's that would be nice to see that in the performance tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Alistair Johnson mentioned the fact that we're coming up to the period where we're going to go to one game a week. So clearly, either he's just very on top of things, and he strikes me the kind of guy that would be, or possibly it's a real talking point as well that from the manager that let's just really finish this block strong. Like, I know the next international break isn't, I think, for another month pretty much, and we've got a derby before then, etc. But it does feel like, get through tonight, get through St Mirren, and you can kind of just relax a little bit because you're 4 games away from the title, and then you've got the weekend after weekend, no more real midweek games for the next period. So I think he's on top of that, and they'll be fancying it tonight. Was there anything else from any of the press conferences yesterday that caught your attention?
No, not really. I mean, I think people maybe expected Rodgers to be a bit more. I mean, I think it's clear that the message from the Celtic camp is they thought that goal should have stood against Hibs. I think they've made that pretty clear between them. Whether it's the players or the manager, they feel that goal should have stood. Purely because there was an on-field decision made and there was not enough evidence to overturn it. I think that's pretty fair to say. I don't think you need to, you don't come across as a conspiracy theorist for pointing that out. It seems pretty obvious to me, and I think the players and the manager have been comfortable in saying that, which is fine. People were maybe looking for more headlines on that yesterday, but I think Rodgers' message was just like, let's just move on from it. What's happened. We'll kind of. You can't change it, can you? You can't change what's happened. So you've just got to play the cards that you're dealt, the hand that you're dealt. And I think that was that's the vibe I got off Brendan Rodgers yesterday.
Yeah, I think he, as you referenced earlier, there's been a lot of stuff going on even away from Celtic, and including Celtic, given that decision on Saturday. And I think it was very clear he just wants minds to be focused and focus on getting that next victory. Because as you say, it's a very obvious thing to say, but that game's not going to change. I mean, no. I fully expect we're going to get, I think it's Friday, the SFA released their key match incident review panel findings, which is nice and catchy. But we'll find out then what the situation is, and then next month I think we'll get the next instalment of the VAR review, Willie Com. So that'll come, but it's not going to change anything, and we just need to focus on ourselves.
Just on VAR, it does feel like it's coming to a head in the sense of Celtic aren't the only club complaining about this. We've had statements from St Mirren, from Dundee United, just in recent weeks. I think Aberdeen have been unhappy with some of the way the VAR processes have worked. Like, this isn't a thing unique to Celtic or Celtic fans. People aren't happy with the way VAR is being run in Scotland or the kind of processes around it. I know that you've spoken about this, but there's issues around, is there enough cameras to provide a fully comprehensive VAR process?
Well, obviously not.
No, they're obviously not. And so how can you rely on this kind of factual decision? It's factually out. It's not. So there does need to be, I think, a rethink of and a kind of understanding of the realities of what VAR in Scotland is. Like, if VAR in Scotland is obviously the pared down version from what we see in the Champions League or the Premier League, then the SFA need to admit that. Don't pretend it's something it's not. Don't pretend that you can see the ball going over the line if you can't. You don't need to pretend it's all dancing and singing VAR system. Just accept its accept its limits rather than try to force something that's not, which I think was the big issue on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading up on the VAR yesterday. I've got the article up again. This is from the SFA when it first came in, and it's like a Q&A type thing, and it speaks about how many cameras are we going to use, and a minimum of 6 cameras, 2 in the main stands, 1 on each of the 18-yard lines and 1 behind each goal. So you can picture that. If there are any additional cameras at the match, for example, Sky matches or Premier Sports, VAR will have access to the additional cameras. But I'd love to know, like, actually, again, be transparent about this. How significant is the cost to bring it up from like 6 cameras to more? I know you would need to actually physically purchase more cameras. I guess you need to hire camera operators, etc. Maybe it would clearly be more of a kind of complex job generally. But surely, for we're not talking about a Sunday pub league here. Like, we're talking about a top tier league in Scotland. You would wonder how much extra would it actually cost to take that 6 cameras up to 12, possibly, or as many as you would get in a Sky game like tonight. It just seems to me that that's a big issue, and it's happened a couple of times with Celtic now. And that Saturday would have been solved if you had a camera on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. Like you wouldn't if it was a Champions League game, for example. And the same a couple of years ago with the Jota one at Fir Park, when the number of cameras or the way the cameras were being operated was the issue. So that's what I'd like to know. And you either go all in with VAR or you don't at all, in my mind. But
yeah, it's not you either go in all in on it. It's just that you acknowledge that there are limitations to it, and you don't try to force, like, So, for instance, everyone accepts that there's no goal line technology in Scottish football, so nobody's going to try and use a factual decision on goal line or on a ball going over the goal line between the posts, because you don't have that technology there apart from at Hampden. So don't pretend that you've got something you're not. Use it for what you can use it for, but don't use it when it's mixed. There's no real evidence either way.
Can't be sure.
That's really what it is, and it seems like people have tried to use it for something that it wasn't equipped for on Saturday, and that's what you can't do going forward, I think, and that's what Willie Collum and everyone needs to address.
Yeah. Referee tonight is John Beaton, everyone. I guess I should read out who's on VAR as well, because that seems to be just as important, if not more important. Greg Aitken is on VAR this evening, so that should be interesting. Right, team-wise, who is on your mind most tonight?
It's a weird one, because as you say, we're kind of coming to the end of this block, but I think with these games that have been a quick turnaround from Saturday to Tuesday, I think Brendan Rodgers has often brought in a few players, and I'm thinking maybe we might see like an Anthony Ralston tonight, potentially.
Really?
Yeah, just I don't know, but we'll see. But maybe because it is at the end of this and there's not a heavy load over the next few weeks, maybe Rodgers will just go full strength again. But I'm just thinking we might see a couple of players coming in that maybe didn't start on Saturday. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
I think you go for the strongest team, and I think our strongest team right now is the team that started in Munich and the team that started the second half at Easter Road. So Schlupp in at left back, front three with Jota on the left, Kuhn on the right, Maida through the middle, and Hatate, Engels, McGregor, and the other four positions are obvious. So that would be the team I would go for.
Okay.
I know I guess it's a difficult one with Adam Ida, because I don't think Adam Ida's playing badly at the moment. I think the issue with Adam Ida is consistency, and he seems to struggle in games, and when he struggles it looks pretty bad, and in other games he'll do pretty well, and there's been evidence of that recently. My issue is that I think the team is stronger with Maida up front than Ida at the moment, but I'm like, is that like really concerning about Adam Ida going forward? Like, I feel like this period between now and the end of the season, I really want Ida to get a run of games so that we can really, hopefully get him to a level where next season we can have him as a reliable Celtic starter, because I don't think he's really had a proper run of games up until now at the club. I think he's always been second fiddle to Kyogo up until recently, and you could argue now he's kind of looking second fiddle to Maida as the striker. Now maybe he'll always just be the second Celtic striker, and there's nothing wrong with that if he's chipping in and scoring goals, but I just think there's more levels to go with him. But I guess there's a lot of people who don't rate him at all, so I've always been a bit of an Ida defender, and I know plenty of people feel differently about that.
I mean, he is an issue though in terms of, like, he does need to kick on and show that if he can't be a regular starter at this point, where there's no Kyogo, Maeda is arguably more effective on the left hand side. No, I think Maeda's good through the middle, but I think his best position for Celtic has been on that left. I think if he can't be a regular starter now, then it does raise questions about the entire Adam Ida thing.
Yeah,
I don't think that's boiled into tonight necessarily. There's lots of issues that will go into to deciding tonight's team, but I think Ida in general needs to have a strong end to the season. I don't think there's any denying that. I think Jeffrey Schlupp, like you said there, everyone's wanting to see him on the left hand side. I think Taylor looked cold coming in on Saturday, and I don't think anyone wants to see that again. I think it needs to be as strong a left side as possible. So I'd quite like him to come in and show what he's got again. And then Jota, everyone wants to see Jota, don't they?
yeah.
Jota in front of the Celtic Park fans. That's what people want to see. It excites people. It gets people on the edge of their seat. So hopefully he is in the team, whether it's Ida or Maeda or whoever. So I'd like to see a left side of Jota and Schlupp tonight.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked really good against Dundee United. I think Schlupp looks hungry to play. Looks like a guy that's not played a lot and coming in and yeah, I don't know quite. I mean, what the issue is with Greg Taylor, quite simply, Schlupp may be a better player. He might just have a higher level. Personally, I think that there might be something in that because you see the level Schlupp played at in Munich, and I'm not sure if Greg Taylor could have played at that level. I don't know if Greg Taylor's future comes into it at all, and maybe naturally it does. We still don't know what's happening there, but as time goes on, you probably tend to think he'll be moving on. But definitely for me, Schlupp at the moment looks like a player who can be really useful for us. And again, you don't know the long term scenario there, but I think for now, certainly he doesn't strike me as a kind of half-hearted loan player. I think he's really going to embrace being at Celtic, and I've been really impressed by him, to be honest. Much more impressed than I thought I would be. And I thought at Saturday in the second half when he came on, he looked really good with the ball at his feet, and I wasn't quite sure if he would be that kind of player, but he looked quite tricky and able to find a wee pass and all that. So I want to see more of him alongside Jota.
And I think, taking any long-term issues aside, I think even in the short term, I've defended Greg Taylor a fair bit over his time, but I thought he was really, really poor on Saturday. And I think, the actions of the manager spoke very loudly, I think, in substituting players at half-time. Like, it's not too often he does that. And I think Ida and Taylor in particular just looked very cold. McCowan wasn't in the game as much either. He did kind of set up a chance. He had that flick over the top that kind of could have led to a goal. So McCowan, he wasn't quite dealing with the midfield. I think Rodgers was just looking for a different makeup in midfield. It was less about McCowan maybe and more about just the team. But I think in terms of Taylor and Ida, I think the manager was pretty unhappy with what they offered. So it'll be interesting to see who he goes for in the starting 11 tonight. I think if there's no Ida in the team tonight, I think it shows that the manager's preferred option through the middle will be Daizen Maeda going forward.
But for me, it's not really in debate that we look better with a front three of Jota, Maeda and Kuhn as opposed to, say, for example, Maeda, Ida, Kuhn. Like we look far more lively. It's exciting. I think you've got two real ball players on each side with Jota and Kuhn, and I'm already looking at it, and it's crazy how quickly things have turned, but I'm already looking at Maeda potentially being even more useful up front than he is on the left wing, which is something to say. I just think he makes so many things happening, and yeah, it was the same before Bayern Munich away, wasn't it? It just gives you excitement, that front three: Jota, Maeda, Kuhn.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it does. I mean, there's just pace, there's trickery, there's ability to finish, there's kind of a sense of the unknown about all three of them, and they're all kind of individuals in a way. I think, obviously, as we know, Maeda's just a completely unique player. Sometimes teams don't really know how to play him because I don't know if he knows what he's going to do himself next, never mind the opposition. And I think Jota just has that close ball control that makes him devastating in one-on-one situations, and he obviously has pace as well. And then Kuhn's just great at cutting in, from that right-hand side onto his left, making something happen, whether it's a shot on goal, feeding someone else in. And again, on the counter-attack, he's just got that blistering pace. Like it is a lively dynamic, it's an exciting front three that obviously fans will want to see more of. And maybe it'll be tonight. Maybe Ida will be benched again.
Plenty of suggestions for tonight. Mark wants Scales to start against his former team. Henrik McClarson, what if Yang starts? Yang's just another interesting one because he gets game time here and there, but I'm still not totally sold that Brendan Rodgers sees Yang as the future.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost as if if we maybe had another winger, then potentially Yang, we wouldn't really see Yang.
And even when Yang in some recent games has done all right, Brendan Rodgers has been quite, he's been asked about him post match and stuff, and he's been quite reserved in his praise for Yang, I think. So I think he sees Yang as a kind of tool to kind of get through some of the rotation aspects of the last couple of months, but I don't think he sees Yang much more beyond that. I don't know if that's too harsh on me, but I just feel like he's seen Yang as a kind of means to an end of late, rather than like someone he's investing future into. If you get my drift,
I actually think you're right. That's the feeling I get is that I think when James Forrest comes back, he'll be ahead of Yang, and I think in the summer, depending on what happens with Maida, whether we view him as a winger or a forward in the future. And if we do sign another winger, I wouldn't be totally surprised if Yang was to move on. He's given us glimpses, but it'll be interesting to see if we see him between now and the end of the season. Wazzaboy saying he could be away in the summer. What about Aberdeen? They're third in the league. It's funny because we're kind of tracking them quite early in the season, weren't we? Because they were neck and neck with us, and then we had 3 games against them in pretty quick succession. It was a 2-2 draw at Celtic Park. It was a 6-0 win, one of my favourite games all season at Hampden. And then we went to Pittodrie on a horrible night, and it was Hatate, wasn't it, who scored a pretty late goal. Since then, there's not really been much from Aberdeen because they've just been going down the table and we've been staying in first place. So have you been tracking them at all? What do you expect tonight?
They had a pretty horror run. I think they turned it around in their cup game. I think it was against Dunfermline. I think they've beaten Dundee and Kilmarnock since then. So they've gotten back on this kind of, they've maybe found it in themselves to kind of get back to winning ways a little bit. So, and again, I think teams sometimes use these Celtic games as a way to like, right, go play without much pressure, go show what you've got, and kind of stake a claim for this next period of our season. And I think that's probably what we'll see for Aberdeen tonight. I don't particularly think they're coming with massive amounts of confidence that they're going to be able to beat Celtic tonight, but they'll see this as a game to like really steel themselves ahead of what is an important end to the season for them as well, because they're chasing Europe, etc., etc. And I think off the back of 3 decent results after such what was a pretty miserable run for the players and the manager, I think the pressure's just been slightly lifted. I don't think anyone was talking about Thielen in the sense of like he's going to be leaving anytime soon, but there was definitely question marks. If you listen to all the around the Scottish football, I listened to a lot of Scottish football coverage, and there was definite question marks about Thielen. And I think now just that's kind of been lifted a bit, and now they'll be looking to kind of consolidate that with a good kind of, everyone's watching tonight, so everyone will be talking about how they played tonight, and that will inform how people see Aberdeen at the moment. So they'll definitely be looking to kind of stay in the game and be hard to beat tonight. I think that will be a priority for them. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we see from them.
Yeah, as we said, the game tonight is on TV, everyone. So if you're in the UK, it'll be on Sky Sports Main Event, Sky Sports Football. It's an 8 p.m. kickoff tonight, so 15 minutes later than usual. Sky coverage starts at 7:15, so 45 minutes of build-up. But why would they be there, John, when they can be here?
Yeah, of course. We've got Tony and Ryan on tonight, so they'll be building up to the game, and they'll be on after the game. Got all the usual coverage, press conferences, etc., etc. So we'll have it all over the Celtic wheel for the next 24 hours around the match. And then obviously we're thinking about what's ahead for Celtic. So we've got loads of stuff coming out this week. So we're all over it. It's my first day in after a couple of days off. So I'll need to figure out exactly what the schedule is for the next few days. Good stuff. Yeah, so just finally expecting a good one tonight. Yeah, I think it'll be a good entertaining game. Yeah, I think it will be. I think both teams are invested in this match, and both teams have a lot to play for in this closing stage of the season. It's not it's not a mad dead rubber or anything like that. So it's no. Aberdeen are pushing for Europe, Celtic are pushing for the title. It's a big game. It is a big game. So I'm looking forward to Celtic rising to that occasion, putting on a wee show for the home support. Yeah, hoping it's a good crowd at Celtic Park. So if you're going along, enjoy it tonight. And hopefully the team can put on a show, as John says. We'll head for now. We'll have Ryan
and Tony on later. So please check that out. I will return tomorrow for the morning